Assalamu alaikum, dear students. So today we are going to start our next lecture, next chapter. That is chapter number 5, word formation. So we know words are the smallest meaning conveying units of a language. They contain meaning and can stand alone as a complete message. For example, consider a dialogue between a mother and son where mother asks, have you completed your homework? And son replies simply with one word, yes. Now, this word, yes, has a complete answer in it. If you see your friend with a sad, or you can say not in a good mood, with a sad face, and ask her what happened, and she replies headache. Headache is a simple single word, but it tells us the whole story. So a word is a sound or combination of sounds that has a written representation as well. We know that these words are made of sounds, and we can write those sounds or words on pages as well, and it contains meaning. Then we see that Leonard Bloomfield was an American linguist. He was actually well known for his development of structuralism or structural linguistics, which is a theory about language, and we will study this theory in future, inshallah. Bloomfield has told us that, according to him, words are smallest free forms that can stand alone yet convey meaning. We know that the letters of conventional English alphabet, which are A to Z, are smallest units of English language, or their sounds or phonemes, according to phonology, are the smallest units of speech sounds, but they do not have any meaning in themselves. The letter A or letter B, or its sounds in phonology, A or B, help us distinguish between different words, but when we write these letters alone, these alphabetic letters or their phonological representations alone, they do not convey any meaning. But words, even when written or spoken alone, have meaning. Your father comes home, for example, he is coming from his office and just utters one word, water. You know that he is asking you to fetch him a glass of water, drinking water. So these are smallest free forms that can stand on their own. By free form, we mean that they can stand alone as a complete message and convey a complete meaning. So our today's lecture is about creation and development or formation of words, how these words came into existence or came into being. Particularly, we are interested in knowing about the words of English language. According to BBC, there are almost 171,146 words in English that are currently being used by people around the world. Its speakers are using this much words almost. It is a huge number, and it is a number of the words which are being used. There are some other words which have been stopped being used. People are not using those words anymore, or there are some other words which are technically not relevant to every person, so those words are not being used. How these words were formed? Were these words always like this, that we are using them today? The answer to the second question is no. To find the answer of the first question, that is how these words were formed, we have to see all the processes that helped us in getting all these words. So today's lecture is about all those processes that help us in getting these words formed. First of all, let's see what is etymology. Etymology is the study of history of words. When we say the etymology of a word, we are talking about the origin and the history of a particular word, how these words were formed, which language they originally belonged to, how they came into use into English. All these things are studied in the study of etymology. So, but studying the etymology of word, by studying the etymology of words, we can gather knowledge about how words were used during earlier period in time, how they developed their meaning, how they developed their form, their spelling, their pronunciation, and when and how they entered our language that we are concerned with, that is English. If we look at the etymology of the word, etymology itself, its origin is in Greek. It is from Greek language, and you can see that etymon mean original form, and logia is the study of. Logi means the study of. So the word etymology has its etymology in Greek language. Similarly, almost all words have some original form. They were originally from some other languages and came into use into English at some later stage of time. Now let's see what is neologisms. A neologism is a new word in our language. Our parents in their childhood, for example, were not aware of the words like Bluetooth, selfie, blogging, etc. All these words enter into our language at some point earlier in our history. These words are called neologisms. Not only the words that are new are known as neologisms, but the process of these words being coined, how they were formed, or how they were used, their use is also called neologisms. So, the word itself, a new word, a new word in our language itself, and the process of its coming into being and its use, all these three things are called neologisms. Neologisms usually result from technical or cultural changes. Most of the words that have recently entered our languages or English language have links with technology, such as weblog, webinar, etc. But if we look at some other words, some other neologisms, such as brunch, that came into being from combining breakfast and lunch and then shortening the spellings and became brunch. Similarly, smog, which is a combination of smoke and fog. These are not solely technological words, but they are relevant to our social, cultural, environmental aspects of life as well. So now we know what are neologisms. These are new words and the process of their coming into existence and their use. Next is coinage. Basically, we are looking at the ways or the processes through which we get new words. So, coinage is a process, a method. It is the invention of totally new words, for instance, Google, eBay, Twitter, and many other such words. We know that once Facebook was also a totally new word, and there are many other words which were totally new at one point in time. No one ever knew these words before. It is one of the least common process of word formation in English because coining a totally new word that is out of from nowhere and suddenly we have a new word, it is not an easy job. Can you think of some of new words? Can you make a few new words that are not actually existing in our language already? Think about it. So then comes borrowing. One more thing in the coinage eponyms. I skipped it. New words based on the names of a person or a place that are called eponym. These are these words which are based on some person's or place name. These are called eponyms. For example, sandwich. It was from the name of a person. Basically, he was Earl of Sandwich. Sandwich was a place name, and it is the case of 18th century, and that man, that Earl, was very fond of eating his bread or having a bread with meat while he was gambling. He used to eat it together. So this food item that we call sandwich today, this word came from his use of that bread with meat, and we use it in every day almost. So such words are called eponyms. Then comes borrowing. The word borrowing itself tells us the story of this process of word formation. When we borrow something from a friend, we usually return it after using, but it is not the case with the borrowed word. Once we borrowed those words, we kept them forever. A wide number of words in English are borrowed from other languages, especially the classical languages such as Latin, Greek, Italian, Persian, French, and other such languages. We have so many examples of borrowed words. For example, you can see the example of supermarket, which is borrowed from Japanese. Then we have typewriter, that is another example of word being borrowed by Japanese language. Then we have sport, we have club, football, which are Hungarian words which we have borrowed from them. I see very few neologisms, new words in English that are coined by English people. Majority of English words are borrowed from other languages. If you try looking at the etymology of words in Google or by looking at your dictionaries, you will find that those words originally from some other languages. Now let's see what is compounding. Compounding, we create new words in compounding by joining two separate words and form a single word or single form. For example, cupboard, sunflower, fast food, and background, and there are many other examples. There are different ways in which compounding takes place. We know nouns are the naming words, and adjectives tell us about the quality of nouns or pronouns. But we can create new words by compounding, by joining a noun with an adjective, or by joining two adjectives with each other. One of these types is noun being joined or being compounded with another noun. For example, bookcase. The word book is a noun, the word case is a noun, and we joined or we compounded these two words and formed a new word that is called a bookcase. Similarly, doorknob, fingerprint, sunburn, textbook. We have example of wallpaper, uh, and so many. And most famous one is ice cream. Similarly, we can form compound words by combining two adjectives. For example, English speaking. English is a quality, and we can see that speaking is also a quality, is also a English speaking man. It is an adjective. Speaking here is an adjective. Similarly, green eyed, green eyed, well behaved, brightly lit. Generally, when we combine two adjectives, there is a hyphen. A small dash you can see in between these words is called a hyphen. We put a hyphen between two adjectives to form a compound word. Then adjective plus noun, fast food, greenhouse, software, all these are an adjective combined with a noun. And there are so many other examples of such words. Try finding a few by yourselves. It is enough for today. We will look at the other processes in the next lecture. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can ask me.